Adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and this is our Positively Pipeman segment with the pet health guru, talking health for humans and health for pets. But today we're going to talk about Greek mythology. Oh, wait, no, not Greek mythology. Breeds mythology. Pet health guru, what is breeds mythology?
Well, it happened to originate basically out of the veterinary community, out of the animal health community as a whole, to sell different products. You know, you go to your veterinarian and your dog's got some sort of condition, or that so-called diagnosed with some sort of condition. And the first thing you're going to hear is, oh my God, this breed has that problem all the time. And there's nothing farther from the truth, because a wolf is a wolf is a wolf is a wolf. And it doesn't matter whether the tiny little toy breeds or those giant breeds or everything in between, their physiology is all the same. And of course, a few companies out there then decided to capitalize on diet as well, that, you know, your poodle needs a special diet because it's a poodle. Mm-hmm. And then that's only going to cost 25% more than that same food in a regular bag. But it says this. And of course, part of that was also another one of these mythical things that are out there, is the so-called DNA testing for breeds and breed characteristics. Because every single one I've looked at, it has no history of gray wolf. So if you're looking at DNA, that's what it is. But they made a whole business of this so they could sell the diets. You know, oh, your dog is 50% whatever, 30% this. Yeah. Okay, which means that, okay, your breeding female dog has been doing the whole neighborhood, you know, indiscriminately. And so now we have a bunch of mixed breed puppies and kittens that are all over the place. But basically, their basic needs are all the same. Now, do certain breeds have, you know, predispositions? Again, it goes back to environment and diet. You know, yeah. The big breeds, of course, we've talked about hip dysplasia and some other bone and joint things. Well, that's caused by a bad diet to start with, because when the dog is growing, if you don't have the right components in the right ratios, the minerals and the vitamins, hormones, enzymes, and all of that, you will get malformations in the skeletal itself. And if we don't maintain it as well with a good diet, then you end up with, you know, having to go to the doggy chiropractor and get your dog adjusted because everything's out of joint. So there's a lot of different things about, you know, they approach that as well. Again, in a previous show, I was talking about exercise. You know, some dogs, you know, why does one dog can walk 5 miles and the next one can't? Because they were bred for specific things. Sporting breeds, for instance, hunting dogs. You know, I mean, they were bred for certain characteristics. You know, retrievers, you know, depending on whether you're hunting ducks on the water or you're hunting pheasant in the uplands, okay, certain breeds do better at swimming. Certain breeds do better at finding stuff, you know, in the grass and things of that nature. Working breeds, you know, if you've ever watched a border collie or, you know, a couple of border collies herding sheep, I mean, they know they are just, first off, they're so trainable. And secondly, they're like magic. They're like streaks of lightning. They can move so fast. That's because of the breed characteristic. But that physiology is the same in all different breeds. It's just that it's like, you know, some people are better at sitting at a desk. Some people are better off as a construction worker. You know, it's depending on the way you use your body and the way the body's designed. So, you know, that has a lot to do with that. You know, when you have, you know, oh, I want to get I wanted a certain breed because I like the look of it. And then, you made it into a house dog and you're never at home.
Hmm.
You take a border collie, put it into a 2-bedroom apartment with a couple that works all day long. They're not going to take that dog out and let him run and that sort of thing. The classic example of that is, of course, these Belgian Malinois that climb walls and bounce off ceilings. So you have to pick your breeds also for that characteristic. Um, but again, it all boils down to still good nutrition, good upbringing, creating that ultimate environment that's going to keep them healthy.
What do you think about the designer hybrids?
They're mutts. They're mixed breeds. That's all it is. And again, the selective breeding process occurred in the breeds themselves. Okay, we're looking for a certain characteristic. Well, of course, in the early days, it was a working model. I either need them for herding cattle and livestock, protecting us, guard dogs and things like that, more nurturing animals. Today, it's all about appearance. It's all about cosmetics, just like our society.
Oh yeah, totally.
If you look a certain way, you don't fit in.
Well, that even goes to grooming, right? Like, so who determined what a dog is supposed to look like? Like I had Bichon Frises most of my adult life as a younger adult, and I mean most of my life as a younger adult and child. And there's like a specific way you have to groom them, or else you're doing it wrong. Like, and who determined this?
Well, again, because of the coat types and things like that, you have to work around it. And again, it comes down to some of the same things. A Bichon, of course, with long hair, got to keep it brushed, okay? Keep them decently groomed. But that process is also challenged by the bad food. Because if you're feeding, for instance, a kibble, low protein, low fats, which is a craze today, you're not going to get proper hair growth. So that strand of hair is not going to have a nice smooth edge to it, a nice smooth sheath, if you will, where the comb will glide through. Instead, it gets brittle, it fragments, and looks like barbed wire. And of course, on that particular breed and a lot of other breeds, when that happens, it's Mat City. And then you're shaving them down.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of torture.
I have childhood trauma from Mat City on Bichons, because my mother used to make me be the one that blow dryer and brush her, and they get matted. And, my mother was not allowing any shaving. You're going to get those mats out. And they are brutal on Bichon,
Yeah, well, they can be, and it's discomfort to the animal when it happens because it's basically quite often it'll start pulling on the skin.
Yeah,
and it'd be like when your mother grabbed you, by the cheek.
Right, exactly. And so here's something too I have to say from real life experience about designer dogs. So, as you know, I had April. She was a pug, and pugs during that time were the most popular ones to create a designer hybrid, because pugs are like one of the greatest dogs, except for their smushed in face and their, sinus problems and all that. So they create these new dogs that don't have it. Now, when I got married to Thing 2, I got her one of those designer hybrids, which was a puggle. And I can tell you right now, April was a way better dog than that designer hybrid. That designer hybrid was a pain in the behind. Yeah. Just saying. I don't see where the advantage was either.
Yeah. Well, the thing is you're playing basically roulette with the genetics. You want one trait, and like the pushed in face. Okay, that might look cute. But the trauma that it puts the animal through, because they can't breathe, they can't eat properly, the jaw is malformed, and therefore over time it's going to hurt. And all these little things, and then of course, on some of them, like you take a Shar-Pei, with the folded skin. Oh yeah, that looks really cute. But in that fold, you've got every fungus, every bacteria, every every
You know what you made me think of, right? Those folds are like foreskin.
yeah,
It's like not having a moil, take your foreskin
yeah.
away.
That's yeah. I mean, it's we think we're doing good, but in many cases we're just creating havoc with the animal and and their physiology.
It's all about
And
money. It's not about good or the dogs or whatever. It's all about money because you can sell it
absolutely,
for. It amazes me how much money people spend on mutts.
yeah,
Like used to be when I was a kid, like a Bichon was an expensive dog. A Bichon is cheap compared to some of these mutts,
yeah,
which just blows my mind. The whole reason the Bichon was more money or any other, because it was purebred, not because it was a mutt.
yeah. It was purebred and had standards, absolute standard. When you start crossing it, you're not going to get a standard. Basically, you're going to get hit or miss on which characteristics are being transferred back and forth. When you go to the next generation, they can go back completely backwards. Okay, like on a labradoodle. Okay, if you breed two labradoodles, you might get a Labrador again. You might get a poodle again, and you might get something completely different because
That's
we're
true.
mixing up the genes.
Yeah, and it's funny what you should say about the standards because, we used to show our Bichons too. And,
Yeah,
you know, the Bichon that you got had to have certain standard characteristics or else they did not qualify, you
yeah,
know, and that included their leg sizes, how they were groomed, all these different things. And you're right. I think it's just like society in general. There are no standards anymore.
yeah.
it's, it's
It's
just,
totally right. And in fact, it's funny because I quite often use the dog shows as an example. When you're getting into those purebred dogs with that standard, and you watch a dog show judge, okay, they do a much more thorough physical examination of that animal than any veterinarian I've ever seen.
yeah,
They're handling, they're feeling where the joints are. They watch the way the animal moves, from the side, from the back, from the front, so you can actually see that physiology working.
hmm
And once you get outside that breed standard, it's all lost. And of course, a lot of those traits, those bad traits, equate to pain, discomfort, ill health, all of that. And again, we have to add back in, get that specific diet into that dog so you can maintain that ultimate position.
So that brings me to a question too, because I haven't watched or been into dog shows in a long time. You know, so do they now like allow these designer hybrids to be part of dog shows, or is there still a purity that to a dog show?
Basically, I mean, because now we've got several breed groups that register them in that. But for the most part, the AKC and the UKC that have been around forever, AKC has been around, like, I don't know, 150 years. They still have maintained standards. You can enter a new breed. However, you then have to document that when you do breed, you've worked on this modification, but when you work on that modification, we need so many generations where you are getting basically cookie cutter puppies, that
Yeah.
they're all coming up with the same standard. And that's very, very important because then now you've got it established. Like I said, once you start crossing on different breeds and that sort of thing, your first, second, third generations, you can end up with some real disasters.
And how can you judge something that doesn't fit a standard?
Yeah,
You can't.
yeah.
But
It's
But I know how you could judge how you take care of your animal, and that is by reaching out to the pet health guru. So tell everybody how they could reach out to you, reach out to my Paleo Pet, Pet Health Cafe, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm available for consultations either through mypaleopet.com, mypaleopet the store down in Pompano Beach. And of course, they can watch me and listen to me on this show and on the Pet Health Cafe podcast. Every Thursday night it's live, available 24/7 on a number of different venues, such as YouTube and Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can listen to me while you're driving down the road, pick out your topics that you want, get educated, learn how to do it right. Our retail outlet down in Pompano Beach, we're in a brand new location, educational center going into it. We actually produce a lot of our products there, which is the BioComplete line. A lot more information on, things like herbals and botanicals and ancient remedies are available on BioComplete, naturaldiets.com. And, I've been doing this for, commercially, we're in our 20th year at the store. This is the 18th season of Pet Health Cafe as well. I started out with you, and it's been just ongoing. It's the same. Basically, a lot of it is the same message, but trying to reach different people.
Yeah.
Everybody learns at a different rate and in a different way. Sometimes I get exasperated because you tell somebody something 20 times, and the 21st time it goes like, oh,
Yeah, totally. And is the way it is, isn't it?
It sure is.
Well, you, Pet Health Guru, and Pet Health Cafe, and My Paleo Pet definitely have a standard, and it's the highest standard there is. Everybody needs to follow you, and I want to thank you once again for giving us a wealth of information that can keep our pets healthy and happy, which makes us healthy and happy. And all of you that are here now, don't leave. We're going to be giving away tickets to festivals in just a couple minutes, and then we're going to have some powerful business strategies that we're going to discuss. So stay tuned here on the Adventures of Pipeman, right here on W4CY Radio.
Louder Than Life, North America's loudest rock and metal festival returns to Louisville this September with My Chemical Romance, Iron Maiden, Tool, Limp Bizkit, plus Pantera, Pierce the Veil, Gojira, Papa Roach, and more. Nearly 200 bands across 7 stages. Louder Than Life at the Kentucky Expo Center, September 17th through 20th. Passes are on sale now, starting at only $1 down at louderthanlifefestival.com. Aftershock, the West Coast's largest rock, metal, and punk festival, returns to Sacramento this October with My Chemical Romance, Tool, Limp Bizkit, Pierce the Veil, plus Suicide Boys, Queens of the Stone Age, The Offspring, A Day to Remember, Wu-Tang Clan, and more. Aftershock, October 1st through 4th. Passes are on sale now, starting at only $1 down at AftershockFestival.com.
You're listening to The Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio, with our powerful business strategy expert, Michael Barbarita, here to give us some great strategies, including today we're going to talk about position of market dominance as employer of choice. Tell us what it's all about, Michael.
Will do, Dean. Thanks for having me. So, as you know from previous shows, the position of market dominance is the problem the customer has and doesn't want, and the solution they want they can't find. You come up with that combination, and you'll get more business that you can handle. If it's the right problem, you got to identify the right problem. So a lot of my clients have come to me and asked me, I'm having problems getting good people. Well, it involves a little bit more than just what I'm about to say, but not much more. And that is this. A position of market dominance works extremely well with customers, but it also works extremely well in finding employees and becoming the employer of choice, because you're identifying the problem the employee has that they don't want, along with the solution that they're looking for that they can't find. So the position of market dominance not only works with customers and acquiring customers, acquiring leads, and converting people into your process, but it also helps you become the employer of choice because you're identifying problems employees have that they don't want and that they are looking for, and they can't find it anywhere, or they can't find it in many places. And that's the value. That's how an employer can become an employer of choice, by really brainstorming the problems that employees have. And one great way to do it is asking your current employees why they like working there, and getting feedback from them as to how things can improve. And if you can make that improvement, that's a problem that you're solving for a new employee. So interviewing your employees is really important in terms of getting a perspective as to what problems that they have or what they like about working there. And if it's just run-of-the-mill stuff that they give you, you've got to figure out what the real problem is that employee has, because you're going to stand out. If you can identify those problems, solve them, you're going to stand out. You're going to become the employer of choice. So we've always talked about position of market dominance as a marketing strategy, and it is, but it's also an employee acquisition strategy as well. And so it works well on both sides of the dynamic.
So tell us a little bit about how people can find out more from you about this, and what strategies you could implement for them.
Well, what we do with it's a whole, the position of market dominance employer of choice is a 90-day program that we have. We have a 90-day program for 90 days to fast cash. It's a cash flow program. So we have that. We have a 90-day program called Position of Market Dominance, Employer of Choice. We have a 90-day program called Position of Market Dominance. So to get more information is you go to our website, you go to the contact page. Our website is nextstepcfo.net. Go to the contact page, fill out the contact form, and write in the description section, employer of choice. And then what we would do is it's a 90-day program because it involves understanding the culture of your company. It involves really and how you go about, it also involves how you go about finding the problem that the employees have that they don't want. And it also involves taking a look at your benefits package, maybe streamlining that, maybe even reducing it. I've seen situations where we reduced it because whatever benefit that company had was not a real problem that employees had. So if it's not a real problem that they have, then why offer it? Why promote offering it if it's not a problem that they have?
And maybe it's not a benefit to them if it's not a problem they have.
Yeah, exactly. So if it isn't, yeah. So you've got to kind of review those things as well in terms of your benefits that you're offering. And like I said, if you've got to really start understanding what employees' problems are through your employees, number one. Number two, I've also done it in my situation in hiring employees. I've also done it in interviews where I don't like the person that much and I don't think I'm going to hire him. I still want to ask him what his problem, what the problems that he has with other places that he chose to interview here. So you can actually get feedback from interviews. And by the way, you can do it with a good interview too, with someone you want to hire. You can do it
Sure,
but you can do it with someone you don't want to hire as well.
Well, you get different perspectives too.
Right, exactly. And look, the whole thing in both marketing and finding employees is identifying that problem that they have. And it could be many times the problem they have is with the industry. In other words, from a marketing standpoint, they have the customer has a problem with contractors not showing up on time or making a mess of the house after they leave, all that. So you address those issues in your marketing. And the same thing with marketing for employees. You got to find out what is their hot button, what turns them on about a company. Because 90% of the time, it's not money.
Yeah.
It's not money. So in the contracting business, it's career development and career path. There's no real career path for a carpenter. They could be a lead, but that's it. What we've done with many of my clients in the construction business is we've had levels of carpentry. So a carpenter 1 is at the entry level, but then you can get promoted to carpenter 2. In order to get promoted to carpenter 2, you have to understand this, and this. And then carpenter 3 before they become a lead. But it's a career path. That's something that's missing in the trades.
Yeah, that's true. And so why do you think businesses may not focus on market dominance with their employees? Or, maybe why don't they even think about it sometimes?
Well, they look at the messages that the want ads and the messaging that they've been attracted to. And or has historically worked, or is what everybody else is doing. Okay, they'll look at other people's ads and say, "I'll copy that," and they copy it. But if it doesn't identify the problem the customer has, you're not going to get the action, and you're not going to get the quality. You're going to get the scrubs. So,
is there any disadvantage to them putting a focus on those employees?
On
the market dominance with the employees, is there a benefit to an employer why they wouldn't want to do that?
No, other than it's different.
Yeah.
Change is hard, Dean. Change is hard. It's hard for some business owners, just repel it completely. And I could never work with that kind of situation. You have to be open-minded in order to work with me, because we create strategies that your competition isn't doing. So therefore, that's change. That's change, and change is difficult.
I was just having this discussion last night with my son, actually. Like in the industry I'm in, you either change or you die, because technology is moving so fast and things are evolving so fast. So you constantly have to reevaluate. And we were talking about a perfect example of the absolute disaster when you don't change and you're resistant to change and you don't want change. And that's the company IBM, because they're still, to this day, and we're talking about, we're going back like 40 years to this day, they still haven't figured it out. And still, they were the serious dominant technology company, but they refused to let the mainframe go away. And they were very resistant to Bill Gates' idea of a PC in every home. And here we are, so, and to this day, they still struggle, and they will never be the relevance they ever were again, because of the resistance to change.
Yep. And business owners are the same way. It's hard. Change is hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to convince business owners to change, especially when they have a certain, parochial method that they've always used, and, that's always worked well.
Well, I say
things are different now.
Yeah, I say they need to reach out to you and schedule something with you, because the only thing constant in life is change.
There you go. I agree.
Thanks once again, Michael, and
Thank you, Dean.
We'll see you next week as we are going to build some 2027 strategic plans in Q3. So, everybody, thanks for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman and our powerful business strategies with our resident expert from Next Step CFO, Michael Barbarita, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.